All right, we know Witcher 4 is officially happening, and it looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty big deal for longtime Witcher fans. After years of silence and speculation, we finally have real details straight from CD Projekt Red. This is not another rumor mill spin. We've seen an actual trailer. We've seen a tech demo. We have confirmed info about the next Witcher game, and in short, The Witcher 4 is no longer just a daydream. It is in development and bringing a lot of big changes. So today, I want to break down everything that's real, what's still unknown, and why it all matters. There's no hype here, just want to give you an honest look at where Witcher 4 stands right now and where it might be headed. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos, thank you for 20,000 subscribers on the channel. And yes, I read every single comment on every single video. Today, we're covering the leaks, the rumors, everything new, all the updates when it comes to The Witcher 4. So drop a like, and this is huge for CD Projekt Red. I mean, Witcher 3 back in 2015 was a massive hit. It put them on the map. And after that success, well, people naturally wanted more Witcher. But CDPR took a detour into Cyberpunk 2077, which, as we all remember, had a really rough launch that shook players' trust. Now, the Cyberpunk fiasco forced CDPR to rethink how they actually develop their games and manage their expectations. They spent years fixing that game. They spent years learning hard lessons, and now the studio is essentially coming home to The Witcher. And I think they're determined to start a new saga in the universe with a fresh approach and new tech to back it. And I also want to say I don't want to dog on them for Cyberpunk now. We all know how it launched, but we also know how they didn't give up on it and how now it's one of the best video games out there. So keep that in mind. They did break our trust, but I feel like they did a lot to try to earn it back. So back in March of 2022, CDPR announced that the new Witcher game was in development, kicked off a new saga. They did it with a single teaser image. It was a Witcher medallion half buried in the snow. Now, the image immediately sent everybody into oh, this was not Geralt's wolf medallion. It looked like some kind of feline shape. Not long after that, CDPR's team confirmed that the medallion was shaped like a lynx. Now, the School of the Lynx wasn't even a thing in the original books or games. It actually came from fan fiction. CDPR gave a knowing nod to it. Basically, they hinted that this new saga might not follow his path anymore, which had people curious, had some people upset, had some other people intrigued. So why move away from your main protagonist and the old Red Engine tech? Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, his story was pretty much wrapped up with a bow in Witcher 3, so the team has been looking to evolve the series beyond its original hero, which is tough to do, but you have to. Think Master Chief in Halo. I mean, second, CDPR tried to switch or wanted to switch to the Unreal Engine 5 for this new project. That's a huge pivot. Remember, they built Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk on their own Red Engine. But after the technical troubles with Cyberpunk at launch, they formed a partnership with Epic Games to use and even co-develop Unreal 5 for open world games. So the idea was to use a proven engine and avoid the pitfalls they hit last time. So the context here is that CDPR is going back to its most beloved franchise, but we now have new technology and a new protagonist. And what they're hoping for, in a perfect world, is to recapture fans' trust and enthusiasm without repeating the past mistakes. Now, let's get into what we actually know, the updates. So far, all of the solid info. Officially, CDPR has confirmed a few big points. First, the game is indeed starting a new Witcher trilogy, which is exciting. They codenamed the project Polaris, and the plan was to release The Witcher 4 and then 2 sequels in a relatively quick succession. CDPR ambitiously said within a 6-year span. That's a new massive open world Witcher game every 2 years, which, if they could do it and it be good, is really exciting for us. Now we'll see if we can pull it off. I'm a little skeptical on that, but the intent is clear. They're not making one game. They're building a new saga from the ground up. Second, we know who the main character is. And we know it's Ciri. Yes, Ciri. Is the adopted daughter. Everyone's favorite, I guess you could say, ashen-haired warrior. This was confirmed in the cinematic reveal and then in official press material. Players will take on the role of Ciri, now a professional monster slayer herself, at the start of a new saga. So in other words, Witcher 4 is her game. Huge shift, though maybe not a total surprise to book readers and Witcher 3 players. Ciri was always central to the story, and the devs have felt it would be natural for her to step up as the protagonist now. I mean, the game's director, Sebastian Kalimba, commented that they want to explore what it means to truly become a Witcher. And you do that by following her journey. So the story will be about her forging her own path as a Witcher. And notably, they've even recast her voice actress for this new game. I mean, Sierra Berkeley is voicing her now, and it's confirmed that Doug Cockle will return, presumably for a much smaller role. That tells you that Our old buddy is going to appear in some capacity, but the spotlight is now firmly on Ciri. And I kind of think parallel to God of War. Yeah, so basically what they're doing here is what you would do if you took out Kratos and you made Atreus the main guy? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why that random thought. So, in December of 2024, CDPR dropped the first trailer for Witcher 4 at the Game Awards, gave us a taste of the tone and the setup. It was a cinematic trailer. We see a village about to sacrifice a maid-no monster when Ciri shows up, dual swords and all, and tries to handle the situation. Now, I would call it dark, moody, basically announcing that she's here to do the Witcher thing. And there's a fun fact, if, I guess keen-eared, not eyed fans, you could catch Big G's voice at the end of the trailer, suggesting he's around in the story even if just as a mentor or a cameo. So following that, mid this year, CDPR and Epic Games showcased an Unreal Engine 5 tech demo of Witcher 4. Now, this was shown at Unreal Fest, and it was more about the technology than the story. But it did reveal a lot. The demo was it was set in a never-before-seen region called Kovir. Featured Ciri as a player character wandering around the mountains, the forest. We saw Ciri on horseback. I mean, you've got Kelpie shown, right? And a glimpse of a port town that had a lot of NPCs. We saw all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was running in real time on a PlayStation 5 at 60 frames per second, which is impressive. They were basically flaunting how their new collab with Epic was enabling huge open world environments. You got the high fidelity, the performance, the advanced foliage, the grass, the crowds, the NPCs, the AI, all of that stuff. But also keep in mind, this is a tech demo. There's a difference there. You got to note that, right? It wasn't literally a slice of the final game or the story mission. This was an example scenario built to show off the engine's capability. So while Ciri was hunting a monster, a Manticore, in that footage, that exact quest might not even appear in the final game. The key takeaway is the features. That's what they're trying to predominantly highlight here. Dynamic weather, the forests, UE5's nanite tech, crowd-filled town, mass AI system, all that stuff. Basically the world of Witcher 4, how it's going to feel alive and look good. So if the final product lives up to the demo, we're in for something special. But we've also been burned on demos many times. I go way, way back. You remember the Alien demo we got and then the game looked nothing like it? I don't think we're going to get that, but you do have to take tech demos with a grain of salt. That is not sliced out of the game or anything. So keep that in mind. It's built specifically to look good and act good for our eyeballs. Now, let's talk about the scope and the timeline. CDPR said that Witcher 4 will introduce new regions of the continent, but the overall map will be more or less similar to Witcher 3's world, which was massive anyway. I mean, it was huge. So similar size means huge. But it does sound like they're not going to just make it bigger for the sake of making it bigger, which I think is a good thing. They've also confirmed Kovir, a wealthy northern kingdom only mentioned in the books and previous games, will be one of the major areas in the game. That's a first for the series. I like that. That's fun. There will likely be other regions too, but we don't have any specifics on those yet. Now, in terms of gameplay, we do know it's a single-player open-world RPG and is going to follow in the footsteps of Witcher 3's design philosophy. The team even hinted at some design improvements, though. For instance, they want to give players more agency in the story. They want to give them more flexibility in how you build your character and take on quests, which I think those are lessons learned from Cyberpunk 2077's development. So that could mean more meaningful choices or multiple story paths, but I don't know how far they'll go with that. We'll see. The fact that they're aware of needing a cohesive open world and quest structure, something Cyberpunk was critiqued hard for at launch, that's a promising sign. Now, crucially for me, CD Projekt Red has been very upfront that The Witcher 4, it's still a long ways off. Their CFO stated point blank, it will not launch in 2026, meaning 2027 would be the absolute earliest we'd get our hands on it. And honestly, if I was a betting man, I would say late 2027. That's where I'm betting. Holiday 2027. So as of late 2025, right now, they have roughly 400 people working on it, and it is in full production. But making a Witcher scale RPG on a new engine takes time, especially if you're trying to be ambitious and kind of roll out these 3 games in 6 years. That's huge. They're also being cautious because they don't want to talk about the release. They're not going to start that big hype cycle, trailers, everything, which all these publishers do, and then it ends up not even coming. Think back to Elder Scrolls. We get the promo teaser in 2018. I mean, come on. We just got a Star Wars teaser for the Fate of the Old Republic that is just now starting to be worked on. So they want to be 100% sure it's ready to go, which I appreciate. That's reassuring. It means no premature launch dates and hopefully no repeat of the crunch and cut content that happened last time. Bottom line, it's in full development. It's on the Unreal Engine 5. It's starring Ciri. It's aiming for a very, very polished open world, and it's still a couple years away. Now, we got all the verified stuff. Let's talk about the stuff that we don't know. CDPR is keeping a lot of details under wraps, likely intentionally, given how early it is. For one, the story. So beyond Ciri is the lead, and she's taking on monster-slaying duties. What else is there? We don't know the main plot. We don't know the central threat. We don't know what's driving the narrative here. In Witcher 3, we had the Wild Hunt chasing Ciri. In Witcher 4, could be anything from, new supernatural menaces, could be more grounded political conflict, could be both. They've said that this will be the start of Ciri's own saga as a Witcher, but how that unfolds, I don't know. You guys can give me your best guess in the comment section. Is there going to be an overarching villain or mystery? The new trilogy? Will we work our way up to a big bad at the end of the trilogy with smaller bads throughout the story? Another major unknown is how they're going to handle the ending of Witcher 3 and their player choices. Spoiler alert, right? They stress they want to maintain established canon without contradicting the choices players made in Witcher 3. That all sounds great on paper, but that's tricky. Witcher 3 had multiple outcomes for Ciri. In some, she becomes a Witcher, obviously aligns with Witcher 4's premise. In others, she became the Empress of Nilfgaard. And there was even a bad ending where she didn't make it. So clearly they're not following the bad ending since Ciri's alive and well, but are they assuming the Witcher Ciri ending is canon? Or will Witcher 4 somehow acknowledge if your Ciri took a different path? I don't know. They haven't explained the timeline at all or how many years after Witcher 3 that this one is set. The trailer made her look a little bit older. I'm sure some time has passed, flash forward, right? But we don't have exact numbers. It could be a few years later. It could be a dark state of the world. I don't know who's ruling Nilfgaard on the Northern Kingdoms. What's going on? We don't have any of these answers. We also don't know what other characters from the previous games might return. Big G mentioned. He'll be there somehow. Limited role. Devs have basically positioned him as a mentor figure. I like it. What about Yennefer? What about Triss? What about others? Well, it's hard to imagine Ciri's story not involving Yennefer at some point, since Yen is basically her mother figure. CDPR? Haven't said a word. Similarly, characters like Lambert, Eskel, other Witchers, will any of them show up? We don't know. The game might introduce mostly new characters around Ciri, which would make sense for a fresh saga, which I'm sure they want to do, but you also have to pull on those nostalgic heartstrings. You do. Your old favorites. Just a cameo. That's all you got to do here. Now, on the gameplay system side, there's a lot of questions we have too. CDPR hasn't detailed the combat changes or the RPG mechanics. Now, since Ciri has a different fighting style and magical abilities than Big G, remember, she can teleport short distances and has Elder Blood powers. How does that translate to gameplay? Will players get to use her dimension hopping ability or any of those magical tricks from Witcher 3? I don't know. They weren't shown in the tech demo. It was very simple. Now, they did hint at improved traversal, like more seamless horse riding and possibly new approaches to quests, but no specifics are known, and despite the new engine showing off those pretty visuals in the tech demo, we have not seen actual gameplay footage. No combat gameplay, no UI, nothing like that. The feel of the game moment to moment, we don't know yet. Another thing we don't know is when we'll see more of Witcher 4. I'm throwing the dart at the dartboard, tentative release 2027 fall. They might go quiet for a while. They've indicated they don't want to do big marketing pushes until closer to launch, so we might not get a steady drip until 2026. Could be a long wait, which means a lot of this is going to remain speculative for at least a little while. And speaking of the launch, we don't have a release date or even a window beyond not before 2027. We also don't know if it might slip to 2028, which is always a chance. And lastly, one interesting thing here. Will Witcher 4 have any multiplayer component, or will it strictly be single player? CDPR in their strategy talks mentioned adding multiplayer to most of their future games. Raise some eyebrows. In an official description so far, Witcher 4 is called a single-player open-world RPG. They have not said anything about co-op or any type of online features, so if there is a multiplayer aspect, it is not confirmed at this point. I just want the focus to be on the single-player narrative. I'm sure a lot of you agree with me, but we'll worry about that for another day. Now, we've covered all the facts we know. Here's where we get to the fun part. Speculating. My takes. Keep in mind, none of this is confirmed. This is just where my mind likes to wander given everything we know about the patterns from past games. Story characters. Now, Ciri's the protagonist we know. I think the story's going to focus on her growth into a full-fledged Witcher and the challenges that come with that. Remember, Ciri never underwent the traditional Witcher mutations, but she does have insane innate powers and training. She has all the training. So Witcher 4 could actually explore her trying to establish her own code of conduct. Essentially, what kind of Witcher does Ciri want to be? The developers hinted she's about to form her own codex on her own terms, which to me suggests a theme of defining what it means to be a Witcher from scratch. Now, I wouldn't be shocked at all if part of the plot is Ciri deciding whether to revive or start a new Witcher school. We had the teaser medallion. It was a lynx. It could tie right in here. Maybe Ciri and possibly characters like Lambert end up founding a school of the lynx. Maybe they create a new order of Witchers around the school of the wolf after it has dwindled, right? I mean, fan ideas, they could do it. And then returning characters, come on, we already know who's coming back. I mean, mentor status, right? I mean, he's going to be there, but what about Yennefer? Are we going to get other returning characters? And then we talked about the antagonist. Witcher stories are usually complex. They're layered, not just here's the bad guy, go get him. And with Ciri's elder blood and dimension hopping abilities, they could go big time high fantasy here. Maybe some threat from another sphere, world, remnants of the Wild Hunt. But I have a feeling they might actually downscale the conflict a bit to refocus on the monster hunting life. Maybe a war or political type stuff in Kovir that Ciri gets tangled in. Maybe a rival Witcher faction causing trouble. I mean, given Kovir is a prosperous kingdom in the lore, maybe there could be tensions between mages, common folk, between Kovir, Nilfgaard, all that, where Ciri ends up involved in direct conflict and having to do contracts. If the trilogy is truly centered on Ciri, they might actually be planning an arc where in the first game, she steps out on her own. In the second, she faces a personal or moral crisis. In the third, there's a culmination of all of that. I mean, also, you could kind of look at the Jedi Survivor type vibe too. Now, let's talk about the gameplay in the world. On the gameplay side, I'm guessing combat will feel faster. I think it'll feel more agile with Ciri this time. In Witcher 3, when you briefly got to play as her, she moved much quicker. She had that blink teleport, didn't use any signs or potions. She wasn't a conventional Witcher. So for Witcher 4, maybe they expand her skill set. Perhaps she's learned to make potions or use some form of magic or Witcher signs in her own way. They're probably going to give us a new skill tree tailored straight to her abilities. Maybe they emphasize precision, mobility, speed, special powers. I'm also expecting the open world activities to be much richer. CDPR learned a lot from both Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk, so things like side quests, they have to be interconnected and dynamic. We don't want to go do quests that don't feel like we're getting things out of them. And that right there is where the shift to the Unreal Engine 5 is probably going to help. I mean, the world could be more interactive, populated, all the new tech. Imagine larger towns, more wildlife. The AI and the NPCs are all actually part of the story now. I think it could be really, really good. I do think they're going to revolve more around the monster mystery, ties into her destiny. I think maybe there could be an outbreak of unusual monster attacks. We're going to get a lot of monsters. I truly, truly feel like that. And maybe they introduce some kind of hub or home base element. I mean, I'm not really sure where they would go with it, but they possibly could. And like I said, the multiplayer co-op stuff, I'm not really worried about. I'm not tech performance and all that. Unreal Engine 5, ray tracing, all that good stuff. I think we're going to be in good hands here. So there you go. Whatever the final title is, whether it's Witcher 4 or something else, it's exciting. It really, really is. It's still a little ways off, but we're starting to get an idea of what's going on here. And once we get new information, I will keep you guys updated, and I'll see you soon. Tell me what you're most excited for with this game.